Welcome to Gold Derby. I'm senior editor Denton Davidson here with Aaron Pierre, who plays Malcolm X in National Geographic's limited series Genius MLKX. Aaron, I was at the premiere for this series and you spoke on a panel afterwards. And what struck me is that the audience gasped and you sort of
Mm,
joked and you're like, yes, I'm British. And what that told me was you did your job, first of all. And second of all, I wanted to know what is it like to be a British actor and step into this role as iconic role in American history, and particularly the unique aspect of being African American during the American Civil Rights Movement.
mm. Um, Firstly, thank you for being present at the LA premiere. It was a really beautiful night. So I'm grateful that you were there to experience that with us. I think the first thing that I want to share is that I was raised with the diaspora perspective. And what I mean by that is the way I was raised. Um, it was instilled in me that whether you are Black in America, the UK, Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere in the world, we are one, um, we are united, um, and we are all collectively working towards uh, a better reality for ourselves. So I entered this with the utmost respect. I entered it having done deep and extensive research, always wanting to serve this incredible leader, serve his legacy, serve his history, serve everything that he represented. Um, for as long as I can remember, he's always been a hero of mine. Um, he's always been a hero in my household, and many of the households of my friends and family members. So it was a great honor, and I'm very grateful to have had this privilege um, to portray him.
And it's the Genius series, of course. It's the fourth one, and this one with both Martin and Malcolm. I'm curious to know, in
Mm.
just the briefest summarized version, what for you makes Malcolm X a genius, or what was his genius?
That's a really challenging question, Denton, for me to like give you one thing. The first thing that comes to my mind is his courage,
Hmm.
his bravery, um, to be able to stand for what he stood for, um, in the face of what confronted him for having those beliefs and standing by those things, and still do it uh, with the love and the strength uh, and the unwavering direction that he did, um, is is tremendous. So the first things that come to mind for me are his courage and his bravery and his strength.
And I want to talk about just the way history sees him, and I'm going to speak a little bit from my own personal experience as a white person growing up in America. We're taught about these historical figures, and I will say Martin was put up on this pedestal, and Malcolm is not. I mean, villain might be a strong word, but he's not shown in the same light as Martin. And I think what this series does so wonderfully is show that humanity, and we see that side, we
Mm.
see that genius in him. Um, what was it about him, and how important was it for you to show this side of Malcolm and step into those shoes?
Yeah, I think I mean, firstly, thank you for sharing that. I think I will start with that actually because, I've said many times before, and I'd like to say again, there is a tremendous amount of misinformation in the world. regarding Malcolm X, El Haj Malik Al Shabazz, and something that I am deeply proud about this series for doing is contributing to dispelling that misinformation, contributing to dispelling those false narratives about him. Uh, Malcolm is somebody who led with love, he led with light, and he was very passionate about equality and uh, creating a better reality for uh, his people, um, and people who are mistreated and uh, engaged with in a very particular way in this world. Um, so that's something I'm really proud about this series for doing, contributing to dispelling those false narratives. So yeah.
How difficult? What was the most difficult thing you had to prepare for, and how does that shift for you when you're playing such a public figure versus like something that's fictional? How much of
Mm.
yourself, like how much do you want to imitate, and then how much of yourself do you want to put in there, and how do you find that equal balance?
I think interestingly, I think at this point there might be a number of people who I've worked with who would um, describe me as a method actor. I'm not, but I do immerse myself very deeply, very intentionally into every single role that I am gifted the privilege of engaging with and portraying, fictional and non-fictional. Um, But when it comes to non-fictional, when it comes to individuals who are alive or have been alive and present on this earth, I go all the way in. And, that goes from, arguably the more aesthetic things of weight, but it goes all the way down to or all the way into rather the dialect. It goes into the mannerisms. It goes into the gait of his walk. It goes into his mentality. It goes into his spirituality, where he was emotionally. So I do really take it very seriously. I don't take myself seriously, but I take my craft very seriously. I know that it's not. There are many people in the world who would love to do this thing. So who would I be to not utilize this opportunity and give it my everything, give it my all, and pour myself into it? Um, it was really funny on the last day of filming. Uh, but the AD was like, "Okay, guys, that's a wrap on end." And I kind of that was the first time that in front of the crew I actually was entirely myself. I kind of was like, "Cheers, guys." And there was this like audible gasp, like, "Who are you?" Because it was the first time that for many of the crew they had heard my London accent. So, I say all that to say that, I really do my best to delve into these things as deeply as possible to serve the story and the characters and the people.
Well, and speaking of great acting, you had some wonderful scenes with the late great Roncus Jones, who plays Elijah Muhammad,
Mm.
Malcolm's spiritual guide and mentor through many years of his life. Talk about working with Ron and having that screen time with him. What can you take away from that experience?
To have the opportunity to be gifted the privilege to work with and learn from Ron, uh, it was truly a gift. He was entirely generous with me, not only in the capacity of um, the work and art and storytelling, but also in the capacity of life and adulthood and manhood. And he gave me tools, he gave me things that I will never forget and will hold very dear to my heart and have contributed greatly already to the evolution um, and the growth of me as a man. So we champion him, we celebrate him, and we miss him very, very deeply.
And he Elijah was sort of like this father figure for Malcolm in his later years. Malcolm and Martin's fathers were both critical figures in their life. Martin's was obviously around much longer. Malcolm probably had some trauma, I'm guessing, around his died when he was 6 years old. Um, and I can only imagine what that felt like for him. So I think back to that moment where they're driving and he's like, we'll never stand in line for food. I mean, and just sort of
Mm,
those things that he's imprinting on Malcolm from a very young age. What do you think
mm.
about the theme of fatherhood throughout this series, and how important was that?
I think that's a really great question. I think what this series does very well is it highlights the different ways that fatherhood presents itself. And it also highlights the varying impacts that a certain line of fatherhood impacts the growth and the evolution and the life of a child. Malcolm loved his father dearly and deeply. Um, and I believe that he always wanted to do him proud. And I believe he did.
And Jamie Lawson plays Malcolm's wife, Betty Shabazz.
Yes, she does. And she is phenomenal.
I loved seeing that relationship, how it started, how it evolved. What was the most interesting part of their story to you, and what was it like working with Jamie? Did she anchor you like Betty anchored Malcolm?
100%. 100%. Jamie Lawson is tremendously talented. And she is a truly just beautiful individual. Um, she grounded me. She centered me. Uh, when I questioned uh, my endurance in portraying uh, this individual, she reassured me that I would not have been put in this position if I didn't have the capacity to do it. So I'm deeply grateful to Jamie. And it was also just in the context of storytelling and collaborating and doing the thing. She's so generous. She's so open. So we really felt very safe with one another. We felt very looked after by one another. And I think that finds its way into the story. It finds its way into the performances. We felt safe. We felt safe to explore the most painful, uh, unsettling emotions, and we also felt safe and and secure enough to explore also the really joyous, fun, light, and lifted parts of that relationship. So I say all that to say that it was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience working with Jamie.
And I love that they also get their stories told, Betty and Coretta, and what the experience must be like, because being in a relationship is hard. Being in a relationship with a public figure is hard. And then you've got these women who are in a relationship with public figures who are being wiretapped. Their lives are being threatened. I mean, there's racism. They're leading movements. the pressure to stay in a relationship like that. Talk about learning about Coretta and Betty's lives, and how important was it
Mm,
that their stories were told in this series as well.
incredibly important. I think, again, I think something that is really special about our series is that it rightfully highlights the incredible women that are Dr. Betty Shabazz and Coretta Scott King, and the enormous roles that they played in the movements, the respective movements, the collective movements. Um, and I think we get an insight into the reality and the fact that Malcolm and Martin wouldn't be the men and the leaders, the fathers that they were without Coretta and Betty in their lives. Um, and I think this series gives us an opportunity to again rightfully celebrate and champion and lift them up. Um, something that I think is also incredibly special is that these incredible women continued the legacy of their late husbands once they passed. And that is no small feat. That is a very hard thing to do, a very challenging thing to do, especially in a world um, that arguably wants to file that away in a cabinet. So, we're very grateful to them.
And what do you take away from his life, just in terms of uh, him? He died so young, but he had so much pressure on him in his 20s and early 30s. Now that I've surpassed him in years I've lived on this earth, it's wild to think how young they were. I didn't think
Right,
of that when
right.
I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were like 60. Like, I knew their ages, but
So
39
did
to
I.
me was 60. So what is it? What lesson can we take from him, and just how short life can be?
Mm. I mean, just to go to a point you made just there. Um, yes, I knew their ages, but when I was younger, maybe it was the black and white photography, but I felt like they were older than they were. Um, and I think that really just is a testament to their gravitas and a testament to their strength and their how grounded and centered they were and how deliberate and intentional and passionate they were and unwavering they were in serving their community. But uh, I think I think I think one of the things that I take from Malcolm's age is that the time is now. The time we're waiting for is now. Um, Malcolm wasn't waiting for anyone else to do the thing. He was doing the thing then and there. And I think that's what I take to seize the moment, to seize now. Um, that's what I take from it. Yeah.
And you and Calvin don't get many scenes together. There's really just the one. So what it's like two, they kept you separate. And what was it like then for you to
We found each other on set though. We would always find each other on set though. That's
well,
my guy.
what was it like to see the show come together, and see what the writing and directing and all of that did behind the scenes to show their lives parallel like that? I mean, we saw so many things come together that maybe we didn't realize. Like all of us, they had more similarities than differences.
Yeah, I think you just highlighted something really important, you know. I think they were two sides of the same coin. Um, I think there is this, or at least there has been to date, a number of narratives pushed that they were, um, diametrically opposed. That one was all the way over here, one was all the way over there, but really, they were two sides of the same coin. They were fighting for and working towards the same objective, the same goal. Uh, the paths were running parallel, but they just had different beliefs of what was the most conducive route to get there. That's all. Um, and I think this series highlights that in a really accessible way. Yeah, yeah.
And you and Kelvin work together again in Mufasa, which comes out later this year. You guys like have this thing
Yes,
about
it
working
does.
together, but not in the same room. Like I imagine you're in a studio for that. So like, I don't know what it is with you two, but like you're in the same things, but don't work together. Um, but the director is Barry Jenkins, who also directed you in the Underground
That's
Railroad,
big, bro.
another fantastic series. I loved that show as well. So just give us, I know
Thank
you
you,
can't
Denton.
spoil things, but like what's a little soundbite, like what we can expect from Mufasa, and you get to play this great character that we all grew up with.
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, I really would love to highlight that having the opportunity to work with Barry Jenkins and Kelvin Harrison Jr. again was just a beautiful, wonderful experience. Um, Honestly, Denton, we had so much fun making this. The rooms were just filled with love and joy and laughter and passion. And I think at this point, I think I might be correct in saying we've been working on this since 2021. So I think at this point, we're all just really excited. We're really energized and hyped just for the world to have the opportunity to engage with it, with their loved ones, with their friends, with their communities, especially at the holiday season. So we're really looking forward to it. And yeah, all good things, all good things.
Well, we can't wait for that. And Aaron, we look forward to that. And also, anyone who hasn't seen it, check out Genius MLKX. It's streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu. Aaron, congratulations once again, and good luck to you and the entire cast and crew this Emmy season. I hope we hear some names called for you. And thanks for sitting down with me.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.